seen wrong prospering wherever they go. I envied the wicked so much that my feet were gone. But now I hold on to someone I know is strong. He my rock and fortress. I put my trust in Yahweh. Then you and me, that the whole world can see. Oh yeah, my King here, he protect us all, and he heard my call. No, yeah, Yahweh is higher. Is he Yah man to where he gotta lie? Is his ear heavy to where he will not hear? Is his arm shortened to where he cannot save? Cast your burden down and give them to Yahweh. He much than you and me, that the whole world can see. Oh, Yahweh, he protect us all, and he heard my call. No, yeah, Yahweh, I used to worry about if my bills get paid. I used to worry about all of my enemies. I used to worry about if my friends would stay. But now I take my problems and give them to Yahweh. He much than you and me, that the whole world can see. No, my King is, he protects us all, and he heard my call. Yeah, Yahweh is higher. I used to worry, but I don't know more. And I don't fall the things I've been through. You know he pulled me through. And I don't worry about me. I put all my trust in Yahweh.
My name is Cohen Michael Ben Levi of the Hebrew family of Guyana. The aim of these dissertations is to cause the true house of Israel, who have been without knowledge of themselves for countless generations, and who are now being awakened by the God of the universe, to better serve our Creator. It is our hope that by reacquainting this awakening black nation with their laws and former history, it will hasten our return to our true identity, thereby acknowledging our ancient ancestors. This in turn will allow us to know our Father's God and prepare us to stand together to meet the terrible day of the Creator that he is now readying for all mankind. May he cause all your minds and hearts to understand. Shabbat Shalom Lechem. It is my sincere prayer that the Holy One of Israel will comfort all of those in mourning. And across this planet, we all know there are many. May he again give strength of mind and inspiration to those that are facing health challenges. We pray that our program today will again do just that and help and comfort those that are burdened with heavy troubles during these perilous days and times. Some say the book of Job is not a real story. The characters are not necessarily indicative of natural relationships. It is interesting how in this book, the sacred numbers 3, Shalosha, and 7, Shiv'ah, often occur. The language of the book is Hebrew, and we will see that there are some Arabic and Syriac words in certain places. Job had 7,000 sheep. He had 7 sons before and after his trial. In fact, 7 sons he had in the beginning is double. He's going to end up having 14,000 sheep and 7 sons in the beginning and after this trial, these trials that he's going through. Ordeals of life, we all have them. We're going to find that he has 3 friends in this story that are going to sit down with him for 7 days and 7 nights, the calamity. And they probably had sittings that lasted a few days during this dialogue and argument. We also want to point out that in the book of Ezekiel, it is said in the 14th chapter, in the 14th verse, that Noah, Daniel, and Job, of course, Noah and Daniel are real persons. But the question is, why in Ezekiel would Job be mentioned there? It's not a real story, as we said. And some people believe it's not a real story. But we'll get more into what we, the Hebrews, consider this book to be. After all, we've already stated it is written in Hebrew, and it is in the Hebrew canon. In other words, it's in the Old Testament part of the Bible rather than in the other part, Apocrypha or the New Testament. More likely, the debate, I said, occurred over several sittings, not just one sitting, what we're going to hear, and even our sitting and reading this entire book of Job, which we hope to do over the course of a number of weeks, maybe 3 or 4 the most for the conclusion. And we hope that it will be very helpful, especially to those that are troubled at this time. And there are many across the planet. Just to remind us of some of the troubles that people are having. Many of our families are still mourning the death of their son or daughter killed by a policeman. We have generations as a people of suffering, which is part of the prophecies of the Bible, that we would go into captivity of long continuance, that the punishment of Israel would not be short, spent, but it would be over a long duration of time. And so again, we have to understand that this is part of that same Bible. And Moses wrote this story to teach not only Israel, but lessons to the world about our relationship as human beings with our Creator. And he did it in a very wonderful, very intelligent and special way. In respect of the author and the book, differences of opinions do exist. And so we want you to know that some people ascribe this book to Elihu, who will be perhaps the youth at the end of the story that you hear about. You don't really hear the young man until the elders have exhausted their words to Job. And then others believe that Job himself wrote it. And of course, we Hebrews don't believe Job is a real living character. And some of the things that you read in the book, you'll see that there could have been no priesthood because they're going to be orphaned, 7 bullocks on the altar, much like the situation with Balak and Balaam. And we know we had priests. Men could not do orphans if this were a real story of Israelite history. But we're not going to get into that. We understand Moshe wrote it. We're hoping to strengthen those people across the earth that have heavy hearts because of death and trouble. There's so many different types of trouble that man is experiencing today that you probably can't even number them and count them. And the troubles are being heaped even more quickly upon this earth. The worst is yet to come. Whoever the author was, it's known that this is a Hebrew writing and it's in the Hebrew canon, meaning it's in the Old Testament. and the recognition of the whole collection by Hebrews are done all around the world. We Hebrew Israelites know this story is our story, and we understand it and relate to it in a way that others might not. And so today you might hear a version of Job that maybe Christians and others who've read this book and seen the wisdom in it, maybe our views might be something that adds to the understanding, because it's going to be broken down from a Hebrew perspective, and that's the language from which the book is written. For instance, there are idiomatic expressions. The Europeans and others who read this book consider certain parts of the book to be poetry, but we're going to let you know that no, what you might term to be poetry are known as idiomatic expressions. And this is how we speak in our language as an agrarian people. It's all throughout the Bible. They'll be making references and similes and metaphors, comparing it to situations and ideas that are understood by an agrarian people and agrarian society. And so we, the Black people who were brought into slavery, that's why you were brought to the Caribbean and to North America, because you had the skills to work the land. Even in the heat, the Indians, American Indians, rejected being oppressed, and they would not even yield to beatings by the Europeans. But the Most High told us that with that spiritual captivity that we went into, that we would be like lambs going to the slaughter without any resistance. And that's why we were subdued. All of us know Muhammad Ali, if he was on the army fighting with Joe Louis and Sugar Ray and Hagler and all them giants like Shaq and the ball players, who could beat us? Come on, you know, it's not because we're cowards or we don't have the military. We have martial artists, some of the best in the world. And again, you can go to Brazil and see their art forms. We make up art forms that are known worldwide. It's not because our inability to defend ourselves that we were subdued and oppressed. This was a hand of the Holy One of Israel that promised us and told us we would go into captivity. And we have things like we say today, what's happening, what's going on. Those are idiomatic expressions in the hood. Now we got people saying things like, hey man, because they even saying it on the shows, hey man, what you thinking about? Because we say things that when we say it, it travel all around the world. That's cool. Dynamite. You remember that show with the guy, he came on, the brother, Dynamite, because we start that stuff. And that's why it starts in the streets of Brooklyn, of Manhattan, of Chicago, and some of those neighborhoods. Then it goes all around the world after it goes through the hood. Because we make up all these expressions that it becomes, and you're probably thinking of some yourself, that again, they're not really normal speeches. And we say, what's up? See, if you're in China, you might start looking up to see, that ain't what we mean. We mean like what's happening. So that's the same way the Bible is written, with things that Israelites made references to, but they're agricultural references, animal references, and you'll see what I'm talking about as we go through, but it's not poetry. This is the mind of a people that just can relate ideas through their culture and through their environment, but they really are speaking things that's understood as everyday language to the people that have these expressions called idiomatic expressions, meaning they're having many idioms in the story, many examples, similes, metaphors, and what have you. And so we want to be aware of that. And we're going to go into the book of Job now, and we will begin to make other points about it as we go along and break down some of those metaphors and similes that we spoke about and the idiomatic expressions. So let us now think about it. As I said, this may take the course of 3 or 4 weeks with the conclusion. It's 42 chapters. Yahweh speaks in the end of this story, and he reprimands Job and the 3 friends that he has, which are, of course, you know, Eliyahu is one of them. And then we have Bildad and Zophar. And of course, Eliyahu is the youth that is the one. And of course, the main character, Job himself that has had all these terrible things. So we're going to look at chapters 1 and 2 that lays the background. It's just listening, art. It's an artist. Listening is an art, I should say. And I hope that you'll be able to understand how the story begins. It's laying down the foundation of what happened to Job to get us into the argument and the discussion that will take place beginning in chapter 3. So it says in chapter 1, first verse of Job. Job is his real name. You can see the Hebrew there. It says, Ish haya be'eretz uz, Job Shemo. And Job or Job was his name. And he, again, was a man that was in the land of Uz. You know, they call that story with the wisdom of Oz. I wonder did they take some of that out of our book. They've stolen so much, you really don't know when they've come up with their own ideas or whether they stole it. Stolen legacy, that's been our way that the nations have dealt with us. Now we can claim back Job, the whole Old Testament, everything from Genesis to Malachi. And that's what the Hebrews are doing around the world. This is our book. We're explaining it our way. Daughter Kenu, it says.
There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was wholehearted and upright, and one that feared Yah and shunned evil.
He shunned evil. In other words, it said, Wesara Merah. That means he turned and removed himself from evil, from wicked ways. That's hard to do. When evil is all around you, remove yourself. This was a man, in many ways, you might think he was almost next to perfect. Of course, no one can be perfect. But as we'll see, Job might even think that he's perfect because he doesn't believe that none of these things that will happen to him happened because he was unrighteous.
And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His possessions also were 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the children of the East. And his sons used to go and hold a feast in the house of each one upon his day. And they would send and invite their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them.
In other words, it don't seem as though in the beginning he has his daughters have their own feasts. It's their sons his sons having the feast, his 7 sons, and the daughters coming over. But in the end of this story, at the end of the chapters 42, you're going to find out that now even his daughters going to have their own feast just like his sons. But he has 7 sons and he has 3 daughters, 10 children in all. And the question should be, how does a man get greatly blessed the way Job was? I would think that all of us would agree, because as we read this story, we have to have some ways of reasoning. That's what I'm hoping you will do. You'll be reasoning in your mind and thinking about some of the commentary that I'll make, because we have to see references and try to see how we can come to some conclusions or gain lessons out of this story that Moses has left for us. It says,
and it was so. When the days of their feasting were gone about, the Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings, according to the number of them all. But Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned, and blasphemed Yah in their hearts. Thus did Job continue. This
man thought deeply about life, even thinking maybe my son have sinned. So at the end of their feast, it was a custom, habitual way of Job to say, I'm going to have a Thanksgiving offering in the morning after it, because maybe they said something wrong or did something wrong. And so he's going to just do an offering of forgiveness just in case. Now, only a righteous person thinks that way. Maybe I've sinned, so let me say, forgive me, Yah. Every day I might have said, or my children might have did something wrong. It's showing us in this narrative, in this story, that this was a pretty righteous man. It says,
now it fell upon a day that the sons of Yah came to present themselves before Yehovah, and Satan came also among them.
Now that's very interesting, because Moses is teaching us something. You know, if you really know the history of the Bible, Satan, called Satan, Nakashi's called in Genesis, he was cast out of heaven, says Isaiah 14. And so we all know that even in the book of the New Testament, In the 12th chapter of Revelations, it says that the devil was cast out and his angels or his agents with him, because Satan rebelled against man. And if you read the 8th Psalm, it says man was a little lower than the angels. And it seems as though when you read it deeper, Satan didn't like the idea that man could live and he had the right to have freedom of choice, make his decisions. And Satan felt that, hey, that was unfair. Even the angels, as Job will say, they go out on miscellaneous errors. They got to do what Yah say. They can't think outside the box. So he's a little angry, so says between the line and our scriptures. And so Job now has the same task that we all have of being at the devil's will to test us, to try to get us to turn against the Almighty. Satan has a job. Remember, we're reasoning. I hope you're reasoning in your own mind. Maybe you think it's right, you think it's wrong. Let's go through the book and don't conclude at the beginning. Let's hear the whole story and see what you can gain. We hope that it'll be an inspiration and give strength to all of those that have trouble. Nobody has trouble like this man. Lost all your children in one day. You have all your possessions, and his troubles ain't over. We just got the beginning to see what's going to happen now. We see all his blessings. Now let's see what happens. And I tell you, he must have did good things to get blessed the way he was, it says.
And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? Then Satan answered Yahuwah and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
Yeah, he said, I go whole and shine. I've been walking up and down. He's looking for people. Every day, Satan's come out there. Well, who can I test today? He's going, and you know he's probably able to move around. He got agents that's testing you, because, I mean, it's a whole world, and everybody, don't care what your color is, your nationality, you get tested in life with trouble, and you have to figure out all these different things about, do you do this that Yah says for his interest, or do you follow Satan doing evil to uphold his interest? We all are tested that way. And perhaps in our reasoning, we might learn something that Moses wants us to learn from this beautiful narrative, a story about a man called Job or Job.
And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a wholehearted and an upright man, one that feareth God and shunneth evil? Then Satan answered Yahuwah and said,
Sure.
Doth Job fear God for naught?
Yeah, sure. Of course you can say that. Yeah, you give him everything he wants. He got all them children, he got all them cattle, thousands, he got everything he wants. He don't want anything. So therefore, I know you must think he said, but just test him a little bit. Just let me just do some things to him, and I'll show you in a minute. If you just take your heads from around him, give me a little opportunity to try him a little bit, and we'll see if he's as righteous as you say he is.
Hast not thou made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath?
You protected everything he had on every side. You won't do nothing to his children, his household, his wife. He got everything he wants. Of course he's going to praise you and honor you.
Thou hast blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions are increased.
You increased him, he's prosperous. Who wouldn't say Todah for prosperity?
But put forth thy hand now, and touch all that he hath. Surely he will bless.
And you know why he's saying put forth your hand? Because Satan can't do nothing without Yah's permission. That's what all of us should understand. Now, if you don't come to that conclusion, I want you to get it from me, that Satan doesn't rule. He's only used by the Creator to test, but he can't go beyond the Creator's word or hand to do anything. That's what he told Balak. I cannot go beyond the word of Yah to do good or evil. That which Jehovah has spoken must I say. And so it is here. The Bible is consistent. Yah is the authority over the entire universe. No one rules over the Most High. That's why he's called the Most High, and he's the creator and maker of heaven and earth. And all the readers will refer to him as Yah, because in the Old Testament and our canonization, there's only one God, and he's Yah throughout. So you hear Yah instead of God, because that's his real name, it says.
Surely he will blaspheme thee to thy face. And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. Only upon himself put not forth thy hand. So Satan went forth from the presence.
He didn't hesitate. That's how he doesn't hesitate to deal with us either. He went right away. As soon as y'all said you can do it, he went. He couldn't get to Job before you could blink your eye, and started touching the stuff around. But he couldn't touch Job. It says.
And it fell on a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house.
At the time of their highest joy, what happened?
That there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabians made a raid and took them away. Yea, they have slain thy servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell thee. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, a fire of Yah is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I only am escaped alone to tell.
Imagine somebody coming one after another, telling you, first of all, I want to tell you all your sheep, all your animals, the thousands you had, they're dead. They're not long. There was a raid. They took some and killed the others. Now, right after that, somebody comes and said, your sons and daughters were sitting eating, and boy, now they all had died in a fire. You couldn't get over the first calamity, and here comes another one.
While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said.
That's why people say at some time they have so much trouble. If it's not one thing, it's another.
The Chaldeans set themselves in 3 bands and fell upon the camels.
Here come the Babylonians. They're the Chaldeans. They're raiding now.
And have taken them away. Yea, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword.
Killed all your servants, all your wealth, and all of your possessions, riches are being taken away little by little.
And I only am escaped alone to tell.
And killed everybody else. He's the only one got away. And while he was yet speaking,
there came also another and said,
the sons
and thy daughters,
they were all eating and drinking wine
in their eldest brother's house,
in their merriment.
And behold, there came a great wind from across the wilderness. It smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young people, and they are dead. And I only am escaped alone to tell you.
Man, that's some trouble. You know, some of these things, like when the army come in, that's man terror. A raid of the Sabians, terror. Chaldeans, man's terror. Fire, that's Jehovah. He can cause that fire to take place. Whatever it happens, he could either let it not happen or let it happen. He controls everything. And you know, it's just like them tornadoes and hurricanes that's coming to Florida now. Imagine this. That's why I pray y'all would comfort the planet. We need it. Many need it. They already had the building fall down. Now here comes the hurricanes, fires breaking out in the building while the remains and people are underneath these ashes. And then on top of that, rain of showers, which he controlled. He didn't have to have it rain. He having rain come down. Then after that, now everybody's worried the hurricanes might start and already hit Barbados and hit some of the other St. Lucia on the way to Florida. I mean, there are people today that feel like Job. And that's my point. That's why I'm hoping that we'll get something out of this writing of Moses that will strengthen, give you inspiration in this time of your trouble, whoever you might be, especially knowing that charity begins at home.
Then Job arose and rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground and worshiped. And he said, naked came I out of my mother's womb. Naked shall I return thither. Yehovah gave, and Yehovah hath taken away. Blessed be the name of Yehovah. For all this Job sinned not.
And I'm telling you, this is a powerful part for everybody to think about. Leave it there on the screen, please. Don't move too fast for us. We want to know that Job started to fast, tore his clothes, which is an Israelite way of mourning, ripping out garments, shaved his head, fell down upon the ground and worshiped. With all this trouble, he gives praise to the Most High. He says, I came in this world with nothing, and that's how I'm going to return. You know what he said? That's wisdom. When you come in this world, you don't have no clothes on. There's never been a baby born with a nose jewel, an earring in his ear. not even his hair braided, even though he have hair, because you come in naked. And when you go out, they can dress you up in that casket all they want, but you're dead nonetheless. And over time, all of that, including the bones and the flesh of that individual, will turn to ashes and dust. Because from dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. And so Job is just giving you the facts of life. That's why we have to reason and come to conclusions, because these conclusions are born on inferences that are based on known facts or assumed facts. We know this. We go back to the earth sooner or later, it says.
For all this Job sinned not, nor ascribed aught unseemly to Yahweh.
Didn't say nothing disrespectful to the Most High. Not in his words, not outright, not straightforward. He's given him the glory. Maybe at this chapter 1, someone might consider the patience of Job. But let's see how this patience lasts on, because that's also debatable. Was he patient throughout? But let's see. Again, all these speakers, they have opinions. You could have an opinion. This is a right if you want to have an opinion on, but you have to base it on something that comes through inference, some facts that you know. So let's go back and see about this great story of Job.
Chapter 2. Again it fell upon the day that the sons of God, that the sons of Yah came to present themselves before Yehovah. And Satan came also among them to present himself before Yehovah. And Yehovah said unto Satan, From whence comest thou? And Satan answered Yehovah.
I do the same thing every day. Watch what he's going to say.
From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down in it.
That's what I do every day. I go looking for people to test them.
Yehovah said unto Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Job? There is none like him in the earth.
He's boasting about Job. This man has to be a righteous man. Who out there in the audience that Yah can boast about your righteousness? Anybody in the planet who can go and say, boast about their righteousness? Yah is saying this man, Yah is saying, he's not saying, Yah is saying, this is a righteous man. Have you seen anybody like him? And would you not acknowledge, Satan, here's a man that's truly a righteous man and that fears me and does right, and give him his props. Satan says, of course.
A wholehearted and an upright man, one that feareth Yah and shunneth evil. And he still holdeth fast his integrity, although thou didst move me against him.
Yes, see what he said?
To destroy.
I did this because you want to test him. And I said, go ahead. You moved me to do this. Job didn't deserve it.
To destroy him without cause.
Without cause, he did nothing wrong. So let's have that established as we go into the dialogue. It's going to be an argument over whether he did or did not do anything, because his friends are saying, no way. Y'all don't do anything to innocent people and righteous, good people. No way. You did something, Job, to have all this happen. Come on, confess up.
And Satan answered Yehovah, said, Skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life.
Yes, skin for skin. That's one of those metaphors that I took, skin for skin. He said, okay, skin, not touched, not harmed, gives you one result. Skin, same body, let me touch him, harm him, then we'll see what's going on. Skin for skin. You have your way with not doing him no harm. Give me a chance and let's see skin for skin. You had your chance, you protected him. Remove and let me deal with it. Then we'll see whether you're right or wrong.
But put forth thy hand now and touch his bone and his flesh.
There's the metaphor being made plain now. See, that was a metaphor before skin for skin, but he's saying exactly, clearly what he wants to do.
Surely he will blaspheme thee.
Let me do him some physical harm on his body and his bones. I won't kill him. That's what you said, but let me just do something personal to Job himself.
And Yehovah said unto Satan, Behold, he is in thy hand, only spare his life.
That's everybody's life on the planet. Yah can do whatever he wants to do. It says.
So Satan went forth from the presence of Yehovah and smote Job with sore boils from the sole of his foot even unto his crown. And he took him a potsherd to scrape himself therewith. And he set him among the ashes. Then said his wife unto him, Wilt thou still hold fast thine integrity? Blaspheme Yah and die. But he said unto her, Thou speakest as one of the impious women speaking. What shall we conceive good at the hand of Yah? And shall we not receive evil? For all this did Job sin did Job sin with his lips.
He's saying you're speaking as the women that speak disrespectful. You're an impious woman. You're speaking like someone that would speak disrespectfully against God. You're my wife. How are you speaking like that? And of course, Job did not listen to her either. You know, sometimes when you have trouble, people that's closest to you give you the worst advice. And that's what, again, something to consider. You need to consider everybody. Just because your wife is telling don't mean you got to consider everything that everyone tells you and weigh it against what is truly right in the sight of Yah. And because he's being tested here again to see by his own wife, curse him and let them just die. And he said, no. What are you talking about? That's crazy. Go on and say further.
Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came everyone from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, and Bildad the Shuhite, and Sophar the Naamathite. And they made an appointment together to come to bemoan him, and to comfort him.
And so again, these 3 friends, as the story goes on, we're seeing that Eliphaz, the Temanite. You know, Teman is one of the territories, if you study Tanakh, in Esau's land, Teman. It's also a city in Yemen today, one of the cities where that war is taking place. They're having suffering. Afghanistan having suffering. Men, women, children having trouble just like Job. I know there must be families in countries where they can say, oh, my children were killed. Even in Israel, when you saw that bombing there in Palestine, to Gaza, all over the world, people are suffering. And I hope this will give you some understanding, some strength, some comfort. Not to mention, as I said, every day in the ghetto, we suffer every day. In the Caribbean, poverty and oppression of slavery and just the trauma that's been on our minds for generations of being oppressed, discriminated against, hated. And we live in this world of trouble every single day. So I hope to help everyone.
When they lifted up their eyes afar off and knew him not, they lifted up their voice and wept. And they rent everyone his mantle,
tore their clothes up. They didn't even recognize him. He looked so bad. You know, I've had that experience sometime where somebody come up to you and say, oh, my name is so-and-so, and you don't even recognize who they are. They look so bad, so unlike the person you knew and saw that you almost feel bad that you didn't recognize them, and you're trying not to even react so they don't feel bad. They walk up to Job, they see him from a distance, and they can't even, he probably done lost weight. He looks sickly, bent up. You don't know, but you have an imagination. This man looks so bad, his friends can't even recognize him.
And threw dust upon their heads.
When they saw him, they started to mourn more. Started great. You know, ever see LeBron James before the game? He throw that dust up in there. They throwing that dust up over their head and falling down because that was an Eastern culture custom of mourning as well.
Toward heaven. So they sat down with him upon the ground 7 days and 7 nights. And none spoke a word unto him, for they saw that his grief was very great.
Somebody said, well, what does LeBron James have to do with throwing that dust up? Because I want you to know that there's nothing new under the sun. Same thing happened in Job days and troubles and what have you. They're in our days. It's part of living. Man, he says later, man that is born of a woman is a few days and full of trouble. It's in the 14th chapter of this book of Job. We're not going to get there this week, but hopefully as we finish this book, you'll come across it and you'll consider it and take it into your understanding about life. Life, when you're born, you can't leave here without trouble.
After this, opened Job his mouth and cursed his day. And Job spoke and said.
And so that's what I want us to now realize. We're now getting into the story, and Job is the first character. You're going to hear from him, but let's break down this scene of what's taken place thus far. His friends have arrived, they couldn't recognize him. Job is sitting down on the ground, probably with his head down to the ground. He's low. That's what you said, your spirit is so low. He's down on the ground because that's how low his spirit has dropped and fallen. His friends can look at him and see he has so much grief that they can't even say a word. All they can do is sit down on the ground with him for 7 days, complete days, 24 hours, including those nights and days. Nobody says a word. Now, they're listening because this is the first time. You know, if you were there and Job began to speak, your ears would be wide open. You waiting to hear what he's going to say. So that I can imagine these men are listening. And now Job begins his complaint, his words about what has happened.
Let the day perish wherein I was born, and the night wherein it was said, a man-child is brought forth. Let that day be darkness. Let not Yah inquire after it from above, neither let the light shine upon it. Let darkness and the shadow of death claim it for their own. Let a cloud dwell upon it. Let all that make it black the day terrify it. As for that night, let thick darkness seize upon it. Let it not rejoice among the days of the year.
Don't let the day that he was born be numbered amongst the months of the year. Let that day be not a day that nobody sing. Don't let a bird sing on that day. Don't let nothing happen that represents joy or happiness. Make that day that I was born, and he said that he was born, make it dark. Make it not even counted. Take that number out, the number of the days in a month.
Let it not come into the number of the months. Lo, let that night be desolate.
Let it be empty.
Let no joyful voice come therein.
I feel so bad. I hate the day he said he was born.
Let them curse it that curse the day.
Whoever do cursing, let him curse that day. And he's referring to Satan because he's speaking as though these charmers that charm up snakes, because the Leviathan is like the devil. And if you read about him in certain books, you read about Leviathan, that's what he's speaking about. He's saying, like, people that charm the devil and devil worshipers, let them curse that day. They're the cursers. Let them curse the day that he was born.
Who are ready to rouse up Leviathan. Let the stars of the twilight thereof be dark.
Don't let no stars shine on the day that he was born.
Let it look for light, but have none.
Don't have no light on the day that Job was born, is what he's saying.
Neither let it behold the eyelids of the morning.
Because of all that's happened to him and all of his troubles, I don't want my day to ever be known and counted amongst the days of people that were born.
Because it shut not up the doors of my mother's womb.
Because it didn't stop me from being born.
Nor hid trouble from my eyes.
And it didn't stop me from seeing the trouble that I've seen today with all this stuff that happened to my children, my cattle, and all of that stuff.
Why died I not from the womb?
Why was I not born, stillborn, and never saw the day of light?
Why did I not perish at birth? Why did the knees receive me?
Whoever, because in ancient days you were born on a person's knees, he said, don't let no knees be there for me to come up, be born upon.
And where of the breasts that I should suck? For now shall I have lain still and be quiet, and shall have slept. Then had I been at rest.
He said, if I was never born, then I'd be at peace and at rest. But look what happens to somebody that's born.
With kings and counselors of the earth, who built up waste places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver, or as a hidden untimely birth I had not been, as infants that never saw light.
Yeah, he's speaking about kings die, great men die of wealth and what have you. Why couldn't he be like one of them that's already dead? And why couldn't Job, he said, because of what has happened to him, why couldn't he have this thing called life never given to him? He considers himself an untimely birth.
There the wicked cease from troubling.
I wish he said, as an infant, I never saw the light of day.
And there the weary are at rest.
When they're never born.
There the prisoners are at ease together.
Even a prisoner that's dead don't have no troubles.
They hear not the voice of the taskmaster. The small and great are there alike, and the servant is free from his master.
Whoever's dead, whatever, they're king, they're master, they're whatever it is, they all in the same thing. Everybody have peace that's dead. Why couldn't he, Job, be like them, he said?
Wherewith is light given to him that is in misery? and life unto the bitter in soul.
You know, there might be people out there. You may not be one of them, but there might be somebody out there that feels that way because of trouble, a child lost, someone suffering in a hospital. I hope and pray that you get some inspiration, get some strength as we continue to read this story. You might feel like Job now, but as we go on and you get some reasoning, some thoughts about wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you come to a different conclusion when you start to search between these lines and get the proper understanding of this great story that many people do not understand.
Who long for death, but it cometh not, and dig for it more than for hid treasures.
There are people that they want to commit suicide, have committed suicide because their trouble was so heavy. Sometimes they lost their wife, or their girlfriend broke up, or they cheated on them. It happens in Guyana. In some countries, it's even more profound than other places because they don't have the spiritual strength that Hebrews. Look what Black people have gone through. Slavery, the worst oppression, discrimination, hatred for so many thousands of years, and we make the world laugh. We put out the music that make everyone smile and have joy. We do the sports that make people, even during the pandemic, they're going to see our ball players in the NBA, the baseball players, Jackie Robinson. We've always been that blessing for the world. He said, through you shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. And that's what our role is. That's the role that we play, to be those that be the light unto the nations. We abandoned our role for thousands of years, but we're taking up that mantle of righteousness once again with the spirit of the Holy One of Israel. It says,
who rejoice unto exaltation and are glad when they can find the grave? To a man whose way is hid, and whom Elohim had hedged. For my sign cometh instead of my food.
Look what Job was saying. He said, instead of some food being brought before me, they bring me another set of trouble that I have. My sign. You know what sign is? You so overwhelmed with trouble, all you could do is take a breath, and you keep taking that breath, thinking about the trouble you have. It comes out with a breath, a sigh of your breathing that's expressing your sorrow and your trouble. We can relate to this. It's a human story. It's not an Israelite story alone. Many human beings are going through this type of trouble today.
And my roarings are poured out like water.
Yeah, it's roarings, his sounds, because every so often you got to say something. And he's saying it comes out in that manner, roaring. He can't just be quiet all the time. And he's blaspheming. His friends are listening to everything he says. What are they thinking about it? What are you thinking about it? Are you one of those friends, Eliphaz, the Temanite, Bildad? Are you any one of his friends there, Sophara, that's listening to him? And there's a youth. He's not going to say anything until 32nd chapter of this book. That's when Elihu is going to speak after listening to all these elders. So let's continue to follow the dialogue, the story, the argument, the discussion, the reasoning that we are having over the discussion. It says,
for the thing which I did fear is come upon me, and that which I was afraid of had overtaken me.
You know, a lot of people think about the worst things, and it doesn't never happen. He's saying my worst thoughts. When he has so much, that's why I'm glad I don't have millions and billions of dollars. You know what they do? They spend their nights worrying about the money. Who's stealing it? Who's taking it? You know, there's trouble that come along with wealth that a lot of people say, oh, I wish I was rich. Oh, no. I listened to some David said, don't give me too much, don't give me too little, keep me in the middle so I don't think I'm too much and that I'm not starving and in poverty. You get the idea. But there's some people, they want all this wealth and riches, but then when it starts to lose it, oh man, that's a whole lot of trouble. That some people that don't have it, you never get it because you've been satisfied, you're happy with what you have, and you're not worried about having a 15-room house because it's only two of you and you can only live in one room at a time or two. Some of those guys got rooms with 37 rooms in mansions, they call them. But they can't take it with them. And after a while, the bills go up. You got to pay light bill for 32 rooms. You got to pay water bills for 32. It's expensive. So now if you get to lose that income after playing those sports and you don't know, now you got to downsize your living because you can't pay that money that you were able to pay while you had the income. So what am I saying? Don't get caught up in the material things in life. There are more important things than material. If you lose your house, you lose your car. You didn't lose your life. Job is so distraught that he wants to lose his life. I pray that nobody out there feels that way. I hope that this will even if you just saying, well, I'm gonna listen to this, maybe there's something in it for me. At least I got you thinking. That's what, when they say call a hotline if you're thinking about committing suicide, hey, I wish I could do that for people because I know if you could just speak to them and tell them about the Most High, you can give them so much to live for. It says,
I was not at ease, neither was I quiet, neither had I rest, but trouble came.
Everybody knows that's how it is. It comes out of the dark of the night. You don't even know, out of nowhere, trouble finds you. That's why I know, I always used to say as a child, one job I would never want to have is a policeman job. Why I used to say that as a child? Because their job is to look for trouble. See, that's why when you're a policeman, you got to go out, you be looking around, see who's doing wrong. They ride by your car, you on your cell phone, you're looking for trouble all day. I don't want that, because as I said, trouble finds you. Why you got to go looking for it? So again, just a thought in passing. As I said, just reason together. Just think and try to draw some conclusions. You know, this one's gonna take a little time. And I have some nice drummers, because I believe that, sometimes, I have some things that's called waterfalls, where you're just listening to waterfalls. And you don't hear nothing else but the waterfalls. It's a beautiful sound to just hear that water falling over and over. It can calm your spirit, make you think about it certain ways, don't have no words to it. Today, I'd like you to just throughout this program, and maybe it might be going on throughout the entire program, I don't know. I move by the spirit of Yah. Just listen to these drummers. They're called Mishpachah. Now, I want you to know, these sons, I remember when they were born, and many of them are Cohen Levy's sons, my teacher's sons and his families, but to see these young boys develop to be the professional drummers they are today, and to have a sound that puts you in a mood where you can think. So today we're going to listen to drumming as we do the book of Job. Let's listen to, again, these beautiful drummers, Mishpachah, Michael Badia, and all of his brothers, families, and others. We're all one family, whether it's DCB, Shema, wherever. We're one people under one Yah. Hope the drumming eased your mind and allowed you to be at peace within your spirit. The exact meaning and object of this book has not always been grasped with understanding. Some think the question is how the affliction of the righteous and the prosperity of the wicked can be consistent with the Most High's justice. Many people say it looks like the wicked prosper in life and the righteous don't get it. So some people look at the story in that way. People of all races and religions have read and reasoned about this book of Job, extracting various lessons. The Hebrew metaphors, similes, and the English prose translations are wonderful. Job is an artistic literature of the highest order. Hebrew Israelites have enjoyed this wisdom of the book of Job since antiquity. Today, it is a source of pride, ancestral empowerment to know that this is our history, heritage, and our forefathers wrote it. To know these are regarded by people around the world as the most admirable production of the pen. The Bible, I told you, the Old Testament, the Torah, the greatest book of all time. And this is part of that great collections of writings that came from the ancestors of former slaves. We pick up our story in the 4th chapter with his friend Eliphaz. He seems to be the leader, the oldest perhaps, of the group of friends. And of course, Elihu is the youth, silent, just listening to everything it says.
Then answered Eliphaz the Temanite and said,
If one venture a word unto thee, wilt thou be weary? But who can withhold himself from speaking?
In other words, Job, you done said all these things. We don't want to hurt you and put more weight on you because we know you're weary already with your trouble. But I can't hold my speech. I have to say something because of how you're speaking about yourself.
Behold, thou hast instructed many, and thou hast strengthened the weak hands. Thy words have upholden him that was falling, and thou hast strengthened the feeble knees.
Meaning, in other words, you helped people that sinned before, that had y'all deal with them and put trouble in their lives. But now
it has come upon thee, and thou art
now
weary.
you did something wrong and things are coming on you, and now you're weary all about it.
It toucheth thee, and thou art affrighted. Is not thy fear, Yah, thy confidence?
In other words, you should fear Yah, Job. It seems like you're not really accepting the fact that things don't happen just dry along so.
And thy hope, the integrity of thy ways?
In other words, you got to realize right and wrong is connected with God and what he does in dealing with people. Remember,
I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent?
in other words, nobody dies that's righteous and do good things.
Or where was the upright cut off?
He said, tell me when a righteous person ever been cut off.
According as I have seen,
According to what I know, Eliphaz is saying.
they that plow iniquity and sow mischief reap the same.
So from what I know, it's only people that do evil that have evil come on them and they get punished.
By the breath of Yah they perish.
They perish because Yah deals with them. And you got to give Yah some glory and confess yourself and stop acting like you're so righteous.
And by the blast of his anger are they consumed.
That's how it is. It's cause and effect. You do something and here's the reaction. You're not acknowledging that.
The lion roareth, and the fierce lion howleth.
That's right. And when he howls, you know that the lion you should fear.
Yet the teeth of the young lions are broken.
He said even a lion, the creator, could break his teeth. He can control every animal. He rules everything.
The old lion perisheth for lack of prey.
Yeah, because the creator gives everybody days of time and what have you. And the whelps of the lion are scattered abroad because don't have no mother to protect them.
And the whelps of the lioness are scattered abroad. Now a word was secretly brought unto me.
He said, look now, I got a spirit one night. Something came and gave me some wisdom. I'm going to share it with you.
Mine ear received the whisper thereof, in thoughts from the visions of the night.
It was at nighttime. I told you it was spiritual. It happened to me. You need to listen because there's some wisdom about what I'm about to tell you.
when deep sleep falleth upon
He said
men.
nobody was up. It's third time in the night when things are real quiet. I got this vision and this understanding.
Fear came upon me
And trembling.
and all my bones were made to
You
shake.
know that got Job's attention. Because anybody would listen when you hear that. I had a vision from God.
Then a spirit passed before my face,
I saw somebody, I don't know what it was.
and made the hair of my flesh to stand up.
That's right. He said, man, all of my body, I got chills. My hair stood up on my body.
It stood still, but I could not discern the appearance
I
thereof.
couldn't see what it really was, but this is real deep spiritual stuff I want to share with you, Joe. I got a message at that time.
Form was before mine
And
eyes.
I heard a still
I
voice.
heard a still
That sounds
voice.
like when Eliyahu, Elijah, was in the rock. And you remember that the fire came by, then thunder and lightning, then the still small voice. You know, this sounds spiritual. It says,
Shall mortal man be just before Yah?
oh man, that's some deep stuff. Shall a man that died be just before Yah, the creator? And that's a question that we're going to consider. That's part of what we have to think about. Can a human being that dies, that's made of dust, that have worms in his body and all of that stuff, can they be just before the creator, his maker? He says further,
Shall a man be pure before his maker?
can a man be righteous and pure before his creator? Something for all of us to think about. This is a reasoning. We're thinking about this story. That's why Moses read it and wrote it because he wants us to get the reasoning to see what lessons and wisdom and knowledge and understanding can be gained by this deep discussion of a man losing everything he had and then his friends saying to him, you did something wrong. And he knows, and we all know, Job didn't do anything wrong. Yah is testing him. Let's see why. And why is he testing us in our situations, in our problems? Is there something to be learned? This book shares that with humanity.
Behold, he putteth no trust in his servants, and his angels he chargeth with folly.
You know, that's only way you get that is in Job. He says, in other words, I send the angels out on miscellaneous errands, run around the world and come back and tell me. I'm just giving an example. In other words, he says, nobody's important to the creator. Shall a man be poor? He says, angels don't even have no real type of respect in his eyes. They're his creation. They're not him. How much more?
How much more them that dwell in houses of clay?
Of clay, man. Don't you understand? The creator is great beyond your imagination.
Whose foundations in the dust, who are crushed before the moth.
In other words, you come to understand that eventually the worm's gonna crawl over you, and the worms and everything in the ground, ants gonna be rolling over you and rolling over your head and your corpse. He said, don't you understand that? You're nothing. That's why I always tell you, and I'm telling you, it's all of this that makes me know I am nothing. Human being, kings, princes, presidents, prime ministers. Once you flesh and bone, you're nothing. And you're gonna go back to nothing. You're just an existence in time with a purpose. Do you know what the purpose is? This story is about a man to give you an imagination, to think and understand life, maybe in a deeper way than you might have looked at it before Moses wrote this. He wrote it for a reason. There are many lessons of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in this book. It says,
betwixt morning and evening, they are shattered.
In a little time, you can be here today and gone tomorrow.
They perish forever without any regard.
And then after a while, after you've gone, let's think about, let's say you have a person like, let's take Nelson Mandela. Now, all of us know he was a great man. He went through trouble too, and spent years of his life in Robben Island, in the prison in South Africa. And he didn't do anything wrong, except try to get his people free. He didn't do stuff, but you get the point. But now let's look at it. Now, people have praised him while he was alive. Even when I say Nelson Mandela, people say great man. Do you know 200 years from now, they won't even know about Nelson Mandela? He won't be as prominent as he was in our generation. Give 1,000 years from now, will Nelson Mandela still be known? Yah will be known. Nelson Mandela will not. Kobe, Muhammad Ali, great brothers and great men did great things, but I told you, the greatest one of all time is the Creator himself. He makes greats. Nobody can be greater than the maker of greats. That's what I'm telling you. Every program, this is a great king that we should serve and that we Israelites serve that made heaven and earth. All mankind, this story is telling us, should worship the maker of heaven and earth, Yehovah Zevaot, the Holy One of Israel. Tamshi.
Is not their tent cord plucked up within them? They die, and that without wisdom.
People die without wisdom. They didn't learn the truth of the Bible as is recorded here. And you can see Eliphaz got a lot to say. Job had a lot to say because we're going to be going back and forth through these chapters. And that's why I want you to know Eliphaz, now he's going to tell Job more. Call now, what he says.
Call now. Is there any that will answer thee?
In other words, call. Just who you looking for your help? You're out there. I remember that 121st Psalm. From whence cometh my help? My help cometh from Yehovah that made heaven and earth. And that's what he's talking about here. Let's go back to the portion. I just know the whole scriptures, and I always bring them in because you got to realize they all connected. When you know the Bible thoroughly, you can see how that thought fits in here. Is there any that will answer thee? Call now. Can the angels answer you in God's stead? See, if you got trouble, there's only one that can deliver you out of it, the one that put you in the trouble. Put your trust, call on him, it says.
And to which of the holy ones wilt thou turn?
Which angel you going to turn to help you? Nobody. They can't help. Nobody has the authority to go over the Creator.
For anger killeth the foolish man.
Don't be anger rests in the bosom of a fool. Don't let your punishment make you angry is what I'm saying to anybody out there. There's people that they get angry and they start cursing and they'll curse the Creator. And that's when you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Job's patience can be seen here. He's listening, but again, he's troubled, but he knows, don't say nothing against the Creator. Don't be disrespectful.
And envy slayeth the silly one.
Yeah, the silly man. He's jealous of people. Yeah. You wanted to be like Job. Not now. See, that's what a lot of people say. Oh, I wish I had the money to so. But when you find out the troubles they have, you say, no, I like my own portion. See, I wouldn't want to trade mine for nobody's because theirs could be worse than what you already have. And you don't know what their future has, so you're going to inherit that. It could be better or worse. You don't know. And what your future holds for you. Come shake.
I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I beheld his habitation
cursed. In other words, seems like the calamity comes to the wicked out of nowhere. And that's wisdom, it's true. All of a sudden, they were looking good, doing good. Not in Job's case, he's being tested, which lets us know that every time something happens to a person, it doesn't necessarily mean they did something evil or it's a sin, but it's something to consider. It says,
his children are far from safety and are crushed in the gate with none to deliver them.
You can put your curse to the third and the fourth generation that hate wisdom and that go against Yah. That's why Proverbs says, Proverbs 8, all those that hate me love death. You hate wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You inviting death to come and take you.
Whose harvest the hungry eateth up, and taketh it even out of the thorns, and the snare gapeth for their substance. For affliction cometh not forth from the dust, neither doth trouble spring up out of the ground, but man is born unto trouble, as the sparks fly up.
You know, if you ever seen children in my generation, they would take spikes off a bike or something and throw it on the ground against the concrete. Those sparks will always go up. And that's what he's saying here. Thousands of years ago, our ancestors, Hebrews, knew this. Moses wrote about it. It says,
but as for me, I would seek Yah. and unto Yah would I commit my cause.
So he's admonishing Job, warning him, he's telling him, advising him, you need to go to Yah and confess what you did wrong and realize that the righteous don't have things like this happen to them.
Who doeth great things and unsearchable.
You can't even figure out why he does certain things. His ways are unsearchable.
Marvelous things without
The
number.
Creator does wonders, miracles. There are people with the hope right now that their loved one is going to be found in that rubbish alive in Surfside, Florida. Some people, they don't give up hope. And you can't give up hope. That's what I love about Ghana. They say, don't give up. That's a saying in Ghana, don't give up, keep trying, keep trying. That's how life is, you can't give up. Tomorrow could be a brighter day. There's light at the end of the tunnel. You've heard all them sayings. We're the people of hope. We have that. I hope you have it. I hope you can give it to others. And I hope those that don't have it can understand this story that Yah left by Moses in the Bible for anybody to get it. We're a light unto the nations. And the whole world needs the truth today. That's why I believe these programs that Hebrew Israelites are doing has come into existence at this particular time. It says,
Who giveth rain upon the earth, and sendeth waters upon the fields, so that he setteth up on high those that are low, and those that mourn are exalted to safety. He frustrateth the devices of crafty, so that their hands can perform nothing substantial.
Yeah, you know, crafty people, those are the people that they always have this evil wisdom that they can do stuff, you know, and clever to outsmart people in God. They operate in guile. That's what Job and Eliphaz is speaking to Job. You might be crafty and think you're doing something evil that God can't see, but he found you out. Go ahead.
He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the willy is carried headlong.
Job, you've been caught. Now you need to confess up.
They meet with darkness in the daytime, and grope at noonday as in the night.
When that trouble comes, then they start crying out.
But he saveth from the sword of their mouth, even the needy from the hand of the mighty. So the poor have hope, and iniquity stoppeth her mouth.
Job, if you just confess up, I know you're poor now and you was rich, but sin stops with trouble like what you have. You need to come clean. You'll be a happier man for it. Take the correction. You correct it for a reason. God don't correct you and you don't need correction. But we all know in this case, maybe in your case, in many cases, that may not be true. It says,
Behold, happy is the man whom Yah correcteth. Therefore despise thou not the chastening of Almighty.
you can't say that Eliphaz is not speaking no wisdom. Maybe it's not due to Job. Maybe that's the problem, is that he's speaking it to the wrong person. But what he's saying, you know there's some truth in that. You know, Yah, it says that in other parts of the scriptures. He whom Yah loveth, he correcteth. Because that's what a parent does. When you have a child and you don't tell them when they're doing wrong, it's like not loving them. You're letting them go to evil, which you know one day is going to catch up with them and they're going to be repaid for that wrong that they've done. But so when Yah and your parents correct you, the wisdom is they love you. They're trying to keep you from being harmed or hurt, it says.
For he maketh sore and bindeth up.
He wounded you and
maketh whole.
he heals you. God is good. That's what he's telling him. He's right about that.
He will deliver thee in 6 troubles.
That's right. I don't care how many
7.
troubles you have, the Most High will deliver you every time out of it. You just got to be patient and wait, and he'll take you out of it. And of course, we hope and pray that we see some patience in Job, because I've heard it said the patience of Job many times. You might not feel that way. As I said, people see the story differently. And a lot of people feel, well, he is patient because he's talking and he's never turning and he's never cursing the Creator. He's holding on to his integrity when it comes to Yah.
Yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch.
Sooner or later, he delivers us out of trouble.
In famine he will redeem thee from death.
He'll bring food to the hungry.
And in war from the power of the sword.
Yeah, he'll deliver you, and there are people that are alive. There's been wars in Afghanistan for decades. In fact, nobody has beaten Afghanistan yet. Russia tried, France tried, the United States, they're moving out in September. And the Taliban are going to take over the country again. Because as I said, the sword, there are people there that died, and there are people that the Most High knew, and he never let none of them wars take their lives. He can protect you in the greatest of danger. The Most High has the power to deliver you from death. And that's what he's saying. Eliphaz is telling some truth in some of his words.
Thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue.
People that talk about you, he'll protect you against that too.
Neither shalt thou be afraid of the destruction when it cometh.
That's right. Righteous people have confidence in the time of trouble is what he's saying. And it's true. There's wisdom that's coming out of this entire book. We have to extract that wisdom, it says.
At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh. Neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. For thou shalt be in the league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee.
The environment, everything is going to be in harmony with you and your life because Yah is with you.
Thou shalt know that thy tent is in peace, and thou shalt visit thy habitation, and thou shalt miss nothing.
Man, a lot of us probably wish that. You came home and your stuff was gone. They broke in your door, broke the window. He said, but if you righteous, he said, y'all have the power that when you come back home, you come to your house in peace and your place will have nothing missing out of it. When God is with you, he protects you, your belongings. Even when you're not there, he looks over your family and what you have. It's a great thing if you can get that blessing. And it is true. He can do it.
Thou shalt know also that thy seed shall be great.
He can bless your children. You're happy. You know, all of us out there that are listening, you can need to ask yourself some of these questions personally. This is a personal reasoning. How's your life? If it's trouble, you still got to look to Yah. If you have a blessing in your life, you still got to look to Yah. It could change. And you have to understand that, hey, all of us are under the same power that has that ability to give us a blessing or a curse. It goes on to say, think about life. Think about your own life, your children. My mother used to say, I don't want to do anything bad and evil because God may punish you. I heard her say that to all my siblings so many times. I don't do certain things because I know the Most High can punish my children. Do you think like that? It says.
And thine offspring as the grass of the earth.
He can bless you to have them abundantly and keep them blessed and protected and great like Job's children were. Or he can make your children a curse. You wish they were never born, just like Job wish he was never born. Children could bring you some deep trouble and sorrow. I've lived long enough, and all of them elders out there. That's why you need to listen and respect elders, because they know and they've seen. And I'm telling you, we've seen this happen.
Thou shalt come to thy grave in ripe age, like as a shock of corn cometh in its season.
A metaphor again. If you ever seen a ripe shock of corn, you know what it is. It's full. It's ready to eat. Some people eat that corn in the field. It don't even get to the pot to be boiled or to the grill to be roasted. That's how corn is to an agriculturalist that finds that shock in the field and it's just ripe and you can see that it's healthy. He's saying you can go to your grave just like that. You would have life that way.
Lo this, we have searched it. So it is. Hear it, and know thou it for thy good.
Job, listen and learn. Confess you did something wrong. Job has a response. You know, some people, when you tell them something, they always got a response to be the husband and wife. Well, this is what this is. They're going back and forth, my opinion, your opinion. And so here it is. It's an argument. It's a discussion. You draw your conclusions. Is this a one-sided story, or is there truth coming out on both sides? But remember, they're condemning Job, and he has done nothing. That's their real wrong when you really understand this story. Because as I said, people get different conclusions out of this book, and so we have to think about it and reason about it within our minds, it says.
Then Job answered and said,
Oh, that my vexation were but weighed, and my calamity laid in balances
I
altogether.
wish you all that's sitting over there telling me all about my problems could put my problems on a scale and weigh them. And then you see the calamity laid in the balance all together is why I'm speaking the way I speak. You don't have the trouble I have. He says further.
For now it will be heavier than the sand of the seas.
Understand what I'm telling you, he's saying.
Therefore are my words broken, for the arrows of the Almighty are within me.
I got arrows from the Most High. He shot me through. You don't see the arrows in me?
The poison whereof my spirit drinketh up.
He said, my troubles, and you don't understand, I'm drunk with trouble, man. My spirit is poisoned by all this trouble that's happened. I lost my sons, lost my cows, lost my daughters, lost my house. Come on.
The terrors of Yah do set themselves in array against me.
He's saying, I got troubles. He ain't speaking about nothing. He's saying, I got troubles and you don't get it. And I didn't do anything wrong.
Does the wild ass bray when he hath grass?
Does the wild ass bray? Does he cry out loud like a donkey for no reason? He said, I'm crying out because the reason why I'm talking this way is because I got troubles, brother.
Or loaded the ox over his fodder? Can that which had no savor be eaten without salt?
He said, think about that. Do people eat food without seasoning? I don't have no seasoning in my life, he's telling me.
Is there any taste in the juice of mallows?
I don't have nothing that I can eat. I don't even want food.
My soul refuses to touch them. They are as a sickness of my flesh. Oh, that I have had my requests.
He said, it's like eating the blood out of bone marrow. He said, what do you want me to do? What do you think I should be saying? I got troubles. You all don't know the trouble I have. I think they got a song that goes like that. Nobody knows the trouble. And that's all these songs just comes to mind when you think about having trouble in life. It's all over the planet. If it's not one thing I'm dealing with, it's another. And we can relate to the stories to think that our ancestors wrote a book like this thousands of years before a time of trouble like there's been since the beginning of man. This is a troublesome time on this earth, it says.
Oh, that I might have my request, and that Yah will grant me the thing that I long for.
What is he longing for? By now, everybody knows that out there. I shouldn't have to tell you. He wants to die. Come see.
Even if it would please God, please Yah to crush
He
me.
said, even if it make God happy to kill me, just do it.
That he would let loose his hand and cut me off.
Just cut me off, Job is saying. I don't want to be here no more. The trouble is too much.
Then shall I yet have comfort. Yea, I will exalt it in pain, though he spare not.
And he ain't speaking about anything but his trouble, his complaint about all that's happened to him. A lot of people complain about what's happening. I know one thing, complaining don't make it better. So that's one thing. Maybe again, if his friends wasn't there, we wouldn't have this dialogue, but it's something that Moses wrote because he's trying to teach lessons through all of this writing, these characters in this story. We're trying to reason, see what conclusions, what lessons we can gain from it, what wisdom, knowledge, and understanding can we get from its instructions? What references can we go and take known facts that we know and then come to some facts that we can say this is true because we know that from dust thou art, thou shalt return. And so there's many metaphors in here like that. The corn, we can relate to that if you're a farmer. And so this is written because the people that came into captivity were farmers, we're still farmers today. Strangely enough, The people that worked to make the British, the Americans, and all of the colonial oppressors rich, we farm for them, but we don't want to farm for ourselves because they've attached a shame to being a farmer now. But in a little while, when these droughts and this hot sun keep hitting this planet, the farmer's going to be the most respected occupation in the world. Just keep watching. Trouble's coming to everybody. And we all know it. And we all should be trying to get on the right side of the maker of heaven and earth. It says,
For I have not denied the words of the Holy One. What is my strength?
He said, I'm not denying truth. I'm not speaking against the Most High. He says further.
What is my strength that I should wait? What is mine end that I should be patient?
You hear what he said? You call Job patient, but Job is saying, where do I get that from? What strength? What do I have in my life to make me patient? That I should wait. I lost everything he said I had. Then what else can be waiting for me at the end if it's this bad? But I told you, he's not thinking. He doesn't realize that everything's going to get so much better. All that sorrow is going to be turned at the end of this story into a blessing greater than the one he had in the beginning. And who knows? Maybe his sons and his daughters did do something that warranted their lives. You can't redeem no one else's soul. It tells you that in the Psalms. The soul is too costly. Thou can by no means redeem thy brother. You can't save your children's life because of their sins. That's something that we need to think about. Maybe that's a lesson, something for us to put in our quiver of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It says,
Is my strength the strength of stones?
am I a rock? I got feelings, brother.
Or is my flesh of brass?
Am I just like nothing? I got my flesh, I feel so. You can touch me and see that I'm flesh and blood. I'm not brass. I got feelings, man.
Is it that I have no help in me, and that sound wisdom is driven quite from me?
In other words, you're telling me I don't know what I'm talking about? I'm just talking nonsense. You said I'm like the wind, empty with no sense, no understanding?
To him that is ready to feign kindness is due from his friend.
He said, you're the friends. I don't hear kindness coming from you. You're condemning me. Even to him,
That forsaketh the fear of the Almighty.
he said, even to him that forsake the fear of the Almighty, he said, you all don't sound like someone that's giving encouragement. My brethren,
My brethren have dealt deceitfully as a brook,
he said, you're not speaking right.
as a channel of brooks that overflow,
He said, you're going over, you missing the point.
which are black by reason of the ice, and wherein the snow hideth itself.
He said, yeah, y'all don't understand certain things about life. And sometimes that ice, they call it black ice on the road. When you ride in a car and that black ice there and you don't see it, that you can slide all over the place because you didn't see that black ice and you didn't know it was ice on the ground. He said, what time wax warm?
What time they walked warm?
He said, you don't even, it said once it gets hot, you don't even know what ice was there.
When it is hot, they are consumed out of their place.
He said, the paths
Of their way do wind. They go up into the waste and are lost.
the caravans of Timnah.
Looked, and the companies of Sheba waited for them.
You're speaking to ancient people. This is not in Europe. I told you, when you know these words, you can look them up in the Bible dictionary. You know about Sheba. You are the queen of Sheba. You're talking about Ethiopia. Just read on.
They were ashamed because they had hoped. They came thither and were confounded.
And I could see why Moses would write about it. He knew a Midian. Moses went there and got his wife Zipporah. He knew these territories, it says.
For now ye are become his. Ye see a terror and are afraid. Did I say, give unto me, or offer a present for me?
He
of
said,
your
am I
substance?
begging you all for anything? Or deliver me?
From the adversary's hand?
He said, I didn't do nothing to be delivered from no adversary. I didn't ask you to do that.
Or redeem me from the hand of the
He
oppressors?
said, I'm not being oppressed. He said, the Most High had shot me through with arrows. He made me the target for all this trouble that I have. Teach me then.
And I will hold my peace.
Tell me something to answer me according to how I'm speaking. I'll keep my mouth shut. You all accusing me.
and cause me to understand wherein I have erred.
That's what I want to know. Tell me, he said, my sin. You all don't know what I did. I'm telling you, I didn't do anything.
How forcible are words of uprightness? But what doth your argument argue?
You're not arguing a fair argument here.
Do he hold words to be an argument, but the speech is of one that is desperate to be whined?
In other words, yeah, that's what you just speak in. Your speech is one that is desperate to be the win. You just want to say something. You don't have no substance in the words that you're telling me. I got all this trouble. What do you know about it?
Yea, he would cast lots upon the fatherless and dig a pit for your friend.
That's how I feel about y'all. You ain't helping me one bit. Now, therefore,
Be pleased to look upon me, for surely I shall not lie to your face.
I'm not lying to you. I didn't do anything he's telling. And you know, a lot of people, they're like that. You know, they are enjoying your sorrow. They're happy to see. They act as though they're there to give you cheerment, but they're there enjoying every minute of your grief because of just yesterday you was having so much prosperity, happiness, and joy and peace. Now we glad to see you like one of us. That's evil. And so that's why these men, the Most High at the end of it, he sees their real intent in what they're saying. They're going to be condemned by Yah as we get to the end of the story. I'm just giving you a little hint as we go on. Many of you have read this, and it's beautiful. But remember, people out there are in trouble. They feel like Job. Our purpose is to help and comfort and give them inspiration to be strong and have hope in this time of despair. Come, sheep.
Return, I pray you. Let there be no injustice. Yea, return again. My cause is righteous. Is there injustice on my tongue? Cannot my tears discern crafty devices?
Can I not see through you all? You ain't here to help me. And Job goes on because their words make him more excited to talk even more. And when he speaks, it makes them more excited to answer him. That's why this is going back and forth. It says,
Is there not a time of service to man upon earth? And are not his days like the days of a hireling?
That's a good question. Isn't there a time for us to serve, to work on this earth? Are we here to do this forever? Are not our days like a person that's hired for a daily work and you pay him at the end of the day? You're not a permanent worker. You're a sub. That's what he's talking about. It's not man's life like he's just a sub. He ain't here forever. He don't have no permanent place on this planet.
As a servant that eagerly longeth for the shadow.
That seems like you just living to die. That's sort of shadow is death. He's saying you just waiting to get to that grave.
And as a hireling that looketh for his wages.
He said, just like a man wait for his pay, you probably already got your insurance and got your grave marked out because you already been thinking about death already and preparing to die.
So am I made to possess months of vanity, and wearisome nights are appointed to me.
He said like that. He said, that's what I look for every day. Another set of trouble coming.
When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise?
I don't even know if I'm going to get up, Job says.
But the night is long.
Because I can't even sleep because the night is so long. When you got trouble, boy, it seems like morning takes so long to get here.
And I am full of tossings to and fro until the dawning of the day.
He said, I can't even sleep, man. Going from one side to the other. My flesh
is clothed with worms and clods of dust.
You know that's true. That's why some people got to take worm medicine sometimes. We got worms in us. We're nothing, is what I'm telling you. My skin, he says.
Close it up and break it out afresh.
He said, yeah, man, I boiled stuff come out of my body. I got sores, pus coming out my skin.
My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle.
He said, man, they can make a garment and sew something. I'm out of here. Human beings are gone. The garment ain't even finished being knitted.
And are spent without hope.
He said, man, and what hope do you have when trouble keeps coming so frequently in your life?
Oh, remember that my life is a breath.
He said, man, it seems like this is just like one breath. He said, don't seem like I have many. He said, mine seem one breath of trouble after trouble.
Mine eyes shall no more see good.
He said, I don't see no hope. What's the sense I have here with everything that's happened to me already?
I of him that seeth me shall behold me no more.
He said, I'm ready to die right now. You ain't gonna see me much longer. You all my friends here, take your last look.
While thy eyes are upon me, I am gone.
You can see already, Job is really, this is a troubled man. Or do you feel like him? Maybe sometime I believe when you have trouble, you should go to a funeral. I think it'll lift you up. I go to the emergency room in the hospital, or just go to the people being rushed into the theater to be operated on. They just been shot up, stabbed up. I guarantee you just start realizing your trouble ain't as bad as you thought it was. There's something out there that's trouble for someone that'll make your trouble seems much less than what you consider it to be at the very moment that you're in that trouble, it says.
As the cloud is consumed and vanisheth away, so is he that goeth down to the grave, shall come up no more.
That's right. That's a wisdom there that the Christian should think about. He says, as a cloud is consumed and vanish away, the rain comes, the cloud disappears, a clear sky. So any person that goeth down to the grave, they will never come up out that grave again. That's Hebrew understanding. That's why it's wisdom like this, why we know nobody can die and be born again the way they say in Christianity. You get up out your grave and you go walking around. No, that don't happen. See, this is why this book is in the Hebrew canon. They can't put this in the New Testament because it'll testify against the JC concept. It's the wisdom that's the original wisdom of God. That's why we tell you this should be the first book that you read before you read them other books in the New Testament. This is where the truth, the foundation of the truth exists.
He shall return no more to his house, neither shall his place know him anymore. Therefore I will not refrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul.
I told you he's complaining. He's letting you know this is a complaint, and it's a bitter complaint from his spirit.
Am I a sea or a sea monster that thou settest a watch over me?
He's speaking about God. Why are you watching over me so watch over people like that?
When I say, my bed shall comfort me, my couch shall ease my complaint.
He said, you don't let me sleep. You scare me with dreams. Give me a nightmare.
Then thou scarest me with dreams and terrifiest me through visions.
He said, you don't never let me get no peace. Why do you stay on the back men and people's lives like this, taking them through all this anguish all their days? Even at night, they can't get no peace. This is something for us to think about. We're reasoning over this story written by Moses. What do you think about it? It says, is that true?
So that my soul chooses strangling and death rather than these my bones.
Because trouble make people want to die. Not everybody, but think about it. You might feel that way. Hopefully, this will inspire you to go to another route. There's two sides to the story. You don't have to choose that one.
I loathe it. I shall not live always. Let me alone, for my days are vanity.
In other words, that's like a person says, should you even give us life if we're going to die? What's the sense in being born just to die? People think about that. It's deep thoughts. But you have to come up with the right conclusion. There's an understanding to that. Hopefully, as we go through this, we'll all get it.
What is man, that thou shouldest magnify him, and that thou shouldest set thy heart upon him?
All you're going to do is die anyway. You're going to tear him down in a moment. It reminds me of how they built up all the mics. Build up Michael Jackson, tear him down. Build up Michael, what's the other Mike? The boxer. Tyson, tear him down. It seems like they just build up a lot of our great ones, they just tear them right down. Job is speaking like that about the Creator. He's saying, he just tears us down. You're going to die after all this stuff. He said, eventually I'm going to have to swallow my own spit. It's beautiful writing here. You talk about artistic writing. This is not poetry. This is just wisdom used with metaphors and giving you ways in nature to see the wisdom in these words.
And that thou shouldest remember him every morning and try him every moment.
He's trying people. It's like you don't get no peace as a human being. God is always testing you on something. How long
Will thou not look away from me?
Can't give me a little time to do something on my own. I know if he did look away, we'd all start sinning. That's what I know. But that's what, just a thought I'm throwing in there. But that's what Job was saying. Just look away and leave me alone. Don't look at what I'm doing. Let me do whatever I want.
Nor let me alone that I swallow down my spittle.
In other words, his spit was a spit. Leave me alone so I can swallow my own spit, he's saying.
If I have sinned, what do I unto thee?
What am I doing to you if I sin? But you are doing something. We'll find out about it later. Hebrews know what that is, but it's a reasoning. It's a beautiful way to just think about life. Oh, thou watcher of men. That is so beautifully put. That's why I said, you talk about artistic writing. Don't ever let anybody tell you we were stupid, dumb, and didn't have no understanding. We wrote this. It's in Hebrew. You can see it right next to it. It says,
why hast thou set me as a mark for thee, so that I am a burden to myself? Or why dost thou not pardon my transgression?
I hope people out there are thinking. Some people feel like that, and it's good. See, when a person has trouble, you have to just stop them and get them to think, to reason differently, and look at their problem in a different way. Because as a person thinketh, so it happens to them. If you think you're going to die, you're going your way. You got to have hope. You got to fight the evil thought and replace it with a positive. Don't let negativity take over your life, it says.
And take away mine iniquity. For now shall I lie down in the dust, and thou wilt seek me, but I shall not be.
He said, leave me alone. Creator, leave me alone, he said, and everything will be all right. Today, I think we're going to have to end here. I was hoping I could get in 10, but I'm going to do the whole book of Job. Time is not a factor in our understanding of all of this. I just hope and pray that it has inspired you to want to tune in next week and hear more of the story, that you go and read it on your own and then come back and share your reasoning with your own mind with us here. We're going to play more of our drummers. I wanted to play even more today. So we're going to end out with, again, Mekubadia and all the other drummers with him. I don't know all their names. I know his son is there, and so many of them. But when we're glorifying Yah, we're not important. What we're ascribing to his glory is more important than all of it. So we're going to listen to one more set of drumming. We'll bring them back, y'all willing, next week when we continue the book of Job and the patience. We'll put a question mark with that, the patience of Job. Again, just a little bit of drummers, and then we'll say our Yivareka and close out. Short episode. Finish it out. God, we ask you to hear our cry for all of those that are in trouble today and hear their cry.
Jehovah, creator of all living things, I hearken unto the children of Israel, for I know as a people we've done wrong. We've forsaken the Lord and turned to idolatry. We have worshipped gods we did not know. Back as one once again, for we know it's hard, it's too much pain, and as a people we strive to bear. Jehovah, all we ask is for is your compassion. Please forgive us for all the wrong we have done. Hearken unto us as a people once again. O most holy one, please, for we love you. At present, as a people, we're no people. We fuss and we fight every day. The solution to our problem is to live as one. Come together as a people, as a nation. You see, when we do this, He will show us the way. He will dwell in our midst every day. Yeah, Jehovah, all we ask is for is your compassion. Please forgive us for all the wrong we have done. Hearken unto us as a people once again. O most holy one, please, for we love you. O most holy one of Israel, we know we've done all wrong, but right now, as a people, we're coming back in righteousness. We're coming back to exalt your holy name. Yeah. Jehovah, all we ask is for is your compassion. Please forgive us for all the wrong we have done. Hearken unto us as a people once again. O most holy one, please, for we love you.
Yivareka Yehovah, Vayesh Bareka. Yair Yehoapanayo Aleka Wikuneka. Yisa Yehoapanayo Aleka Wayasim Leka Shalom. Yehovah bless thee and keep thee. Yehovah cause his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. Yehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. So shall the Cohane put my name upon the children of Israel, and I, Yehovah, will bless them. Hallelujah.
And they should put my name upon the children of Israel, and I bless them. Sing
Family to among Israel so Namidia Mishirawo One family to among Israel so Namidia Mishirawo